Sir.
Do you have any accommodation for public parking?
Yes. Well,
Well, I mean like a parking garage.
like
you know,
like,
Short parking garage, 2-3 stories, something like
that could occur wherever you needed it to occur. The difficulty I have with it is that it's hard to envision there being a very high demand for that. We're proposing a lot of on-street parking on the streets. We're proposing some public parking down on the beach in the entertainment area in that FEMA zone. There's a tremendous amount of parking that can be put there at grade underneath those new buildings. So there's a capacity there that is sufficient without having to go through the expense of creating a public parking garage. But there's nothing in these zoning categories except for the residential areas that would preclude the development of a public garage. Does that answer your question?
that. Yeah, but it doesn't really address the problem that I've seen, you know, with festival activity.
And I concur with Mr. Stevens. I really didn't realize that there was no provisions for a parking garage here. And I totally take exception with the fact that you're saying that it's ample enough parking with the underground, the development that's to occur on the oceanfront or wherever. I think that we need to look at that some more.
Okay, we'll look at it. I think it becomes more of an economic, financial issue, and I'll have our economists look at it. But yeah, we'll take your, it's an item that's been discussed. I don't want to say that we're ignoring it. We just felt like that, and perhaps we're wrong, we felt like that the need didn't exist.
Well, and the other thing I want to say is that Bike Fest happens once a year.
Right.
The question is, how do you finance
How do you
and
subsidize it?
subsidize that garage with other weekends out of the month?
How much off-street parking are you talking about?
What I wanted to say, and I think some of us missed the beginning, we're taking down all your comments. If there's a need for a public garage to review, we'll run the economics on it as well as where it could possibly be placed. We're not, if that's an issue, you've raised it, you'd like to see it. One of the questions as we talk about public-private garage though, is that I realize the comment was toward the festival, but we also have to realize that you have to finance these projects the rest of the year as well and make sure that the demand for parking is there. So we'll put it down as an issue of where to put garages or public-private garages. And we'll also look at the demand and the analysis for parking, how much street parking is allowed and how much isn't.
How many levels of parking were you referring to down on the waterfront?
Be a single level, but there's a substantial amount of space down there. We will provide that calculation and drawing of that. That's something that's lacking in the plan. I would like to add that a garage is going for $15,000 to $20,000 a space these days.
What happened to the concept?
Construction of a garage.
Additionally, the developers who are building these high-rise buildings are required to provide 1.4 parking spaces per unit according to the existing zoning ordinance. So a lot of the new people coming into town that will be visiting those types of structures will be able to park in those structures. So I think actually the demand could be low, but I think Warren's looking.
Yeah,
we'll
no,
look at it.
it's a good point. It's something we will look at.
And I was gonna say, the other opportunity is public-private partnerships on parking, where in fact your peak season, you may in fact have those parking spaces being used. You might be able to work something out where in your non-peak season, you might be able to use those parkings as well. It just depends, I think, on the financing and how it's structured with private developers. But one of the things you don't want is a town full of empty garages. And garages are in fact expensive. At $15,000 a square foot, at $300, you're talking millions. So we need to I guess I'm trying to cut the debate off on the garages, because we got the point.
Well, I just want to say this too. I hear what you're saying, but then you don't want to redevelop a town, a beautiful town, a cultural town where everybody's coming back, and you don't have a chair for them to sit in. In other words, you don't have a parking space for them whenever they come.
I was gonna
If
say,
you build it, they will come.
There's a viewpoint that, the more people you see walking around and out of their cars creates excitement.
Absolutely.
So you really don't want to provide for every person who comes a parking space, because there's a psychology in it. So we need to look at the demand for parking, but at the same time, we don't want to do an oversupply of parking. So I think there's a balance, and we're going to look at the parking piece. What I'm saying to you is, because you don't have a single garage that you see, doesn't mean that parking can't be accommodated. There are other ways, in fact, to do it with public-private partnerships, where the town doesn't have to have that burden of building a public garage, but is a partnership with a developer or whatever else. You will see, that's only because I've seen the presentation, there's some incentives to help incentivize that type of parking with developers. So you'll see some creative ways of looking at it. So I don't want to say that it hasn't a separate public garage. I think we're going to look at it, but I think there are other ways, in fact, to incentivize to be able to get that partnership to accommodate parking.